guys, Michael Corsentino for Shutter Magazine. Welcome to the companion video for the March edition. If you guys have not picked up the current issue, I encourage you to do so. It's jam-packed with great content from some of the top photographers and educators working today. So definitely go out and get yourself a copy of Shutter Magazine. There's great stuff to be gleaned from that, all sorts of great ways to help improve your business and your photography. So this month I am looking at LED lighting for portraits. And LEDs are a constant light source, which has all sorts of great benefits for those learning light. So let's take a look at some of the various usual suspect constant lights that are available to you. You've got fluorescent lighting, both the KinoFlow and Westcott Spider lights, two of my definite favorites. In the fluorescent department, you've got the Profoto Tungsten, you've got the Arri Fresnel, which is a focusable source, the Lupo Lux Daylight Fresnel, which you guys have seen me do some Hollywood glamour work with that in previous issues. And today we're looking at Manfrotto's new line of lights, the Manfrotto Lycos LED. Now Manfrotto reached out to me and asked me to create an ebook around their new line of lights. So that's kind of the outgrowth of this work that you're going to be seeing today and some of my feedback about working with LEDs. They are different from other constant light sources in a number of ways. First and foremost, they don't have an internal filament in the bulb. There's no bulb. It's actually, the light is actually created, the illumination comes from an interaction between electrons and a semiconductor or some kind of scientific gobbledygook, but anyway, it produces amazing light. It's really durable. It's not as prone clearly to breakage as a bulb would be. There's no heat. They are great because they can do double duty, as any constant light source would be, I guess, but these are really lightweight and super durable, and they don't draw a lot of power, so they're really great with batteries. These Manfrotto Lycos and the other lights in this line all can be battery operated, as well as from a wall main, which makes them great for anybody doing work, as many of us are now, with video as well. So if you need a tool that will do double duty for still and video, LEDs are great for that as well. So let's take a look at specifically which of these I used to create the images that we're going to look at today. The tool that I used for that was the Manfrotto Lycos. It's available in both a bicolor and a daylight version. You can see here the bicolor. It's got a kind of volume knob for the output of the light, and then a color temperature knob below that, and you can see on the back it's got that battery receptacle, so you can put a battery adapter on there and run it off of Sony batteries that are pretty common in video. So that is the bicolor version. There's, like I say, there's also a daylight version. Here you can see I've just included a slide with the Bluetooth dongle, because it does have Bluetooth capability that you can control the light, any number of these lights, I think up to 4, using Bluetooth and an app on an iOS device. And you can control the power output, and you can control the color temperature, which is pretty cool, among other things. So pretty nice stuff. LEDs have come a long way, and they are a great option, especially for anyone learning lighting. They are what you see is what you get lighting, and what I mean by that is any of the changes that you're making, any of the positioning that you're doing and the direction of your light, all of that stuff is stuff that you can see real time, unlike working with strobes. So it's a great way to really see what's happening with your light, a great way to learn. And you know, they're not mutually exclusive of strobes. You know, it's great to have lots of different tools that do different things. So LEDs, you know, perhaps would definitely have a place in your kit. I know that I find them useful, and that's how I made the portraits we're going to be looking at today. So we'll look at, you know, we'll talk about their qualities and some of the differences between strobe and LED lighting. Here you can see the entire Manfrotto line, their new line of LEDs. You've got the Lycos at the top end of the spectrum, a bunch of different accessories that are available, from gels to a softbox, which is going to help broaden and diffuse the light. That's specifically for the Lycos. Then you've got the Chroma 2, which is a little bit smaller. The Micro Pro 2, which is a daylight. The Chroma 2, I think, is is a bicolor unit, hence the name Chroma. And then the Spectra 2 is another daylight unit, and you can see the battery operated, the battery option on the back with the battery mount. So that's the entire line. Pretty cool stuff, pretty exciting, and definitely worth a look if you're into constant lights. So let's take that slide off. All right, so let's talk about LED lighting and sort of some of the kind of inherent qualities that you have. Now, one of the things about LED lights, and here you can see a portrait that I made of my friend and local artist Sarah Davis. She's based in Orlando. She's a really great artist and a super cool person and a very interesting looking person, so I figured she'd be perfect to make some portraits for this. So here I'm using one light, and I believe I have my pencil selected. Okay, so I've got my light placed kind of up here, and you can see that's giving me that nice catch light in the eye and the position that I like, you know, between 10 and 2 for the catch light in the eyes, is always kind of what I'm looking for. But LEDs, and especially this is a smaller fixture, they have a really steep fall off, and what that means is that the light only has a certain amount of coverage, and based on the distance, the output of the light is going to fall off fairly rapidly. And I have a couple slides to illustrate this, but you can see just here in the picture that you've got a good bit of illumination here, but everything kind of falls off here. It gets much darker down in this area, and that is really, fall off and coverage. So you have to be aware of that, and I even had to brighten this up a little bit in post with a little dodging, right, just to brighten it up. So you have a lot of fall off with LEDs in general. So let's take a look at that and how it differs from strobe. So with strobe, you have a long lead time, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, the envelope of the light falls off, right? So that's strobe. I mean, and this is much shorter from here to here than it really is in real life. You've got quite a bit of distance that you can cover with a strobe, all right? Now, when we move to LEDs, and again, my little illustrations are hardly scientific, but you get the point. You've got a much shorter amount of time before the light falls off, right? So these are really great used close, and that's what I did here. I used them close. I also found it really useful to gang them up, okay? And by doing that, and you can also put them on their sides. Here you're seeing them horizontally oriented. You can, orient them long ways up so that you've got a taller than wide pattern of light happening. And by ganging them up, you're going to be able to cover a much wider area of light. All this is now covered, and you can see here that I've got a lot of that happening here where I didn't have it before. All right, so definitely worthwhile technique, ganging up your lights. All right, let's take a look at some of the other qualities. Okay, with any constant light, you're going to have a specific look to the irises of your subjects. What's going to happen is with a constant light, the iris closes down because it's had time to adjust to the light. Unlike a strobe where you've got that flash pop, the eye hasn't had a chance to adjust, and so you have a very wide iris. Now, a lot of people prefer that wide iris, but I didn't really find it to be a deal breaker. Like I say, strobe is really my comfort zone, so I had to kind of, get used to constant lights again, but I think they're pretty amazing. I mean, you can do a lot of really cool stuff with them, and again, for anyone learning about light, they're great. They're also really great tools if you're working around people who are not used to strobes, like toddlers, people who are inexperienced being photographed. Strobes can be a little bit disruptive and a little bit intimidating, that constant pop of a strobe. So LEDs, people kind of forget that they're there, and you can just shoot, and people are, it can be very comfortable. So that's one of the really nice things about them. But anyway, back to the iris. So here you can see the effect of that iris. Now again, if it bothers you, you can always come in here and you can make the iris a little bit bigger in post. I didn't really feel the need to do that. I think that it looks all right. I mean, clearly if you were doing beauty or something, maybe it would be a deal breaker. But for portraits, I didn't really find it to be that big an impediment. Okay, so here I just wanted to give you a side-by-side where you can see the difference between the one light and two light versions. So here we've got that one light, and you can see that fall off really starts to happen down here, and here I'm using the two lights ganged, and you can see that I've got a lot more even coverage across the entire subject, right? Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was double catch lights. So that's going to be with any light source, really. If you're using two lights, you're going to get two catch lights in the eyes. And again, you can see that here. We've got those two catch lights happening in Sarah's eyes. Now, again, that's something that you can fix in post if it's objectionable to you. It didn't really bother me that much. It's a simple, quick fix in post if it does bother you, but just something to be aware of. Okay. One of the other cool things, and you guys may have seen this feature in Shutter Magazine a few years back, but you can mix and match strobe and constant light together to create some really cool effects. And one of my favorite ways to do that is with gels. Basically, you drag the shutter because your shutter is really what controls the ambient light. You're using the LED as an ambient light source, and you're using the strobe to freeze action. And the shot that you're seeing here was made in camera with one exposure. None of this is Photoshop trickery. There's some colors been adjusted a little bit and retouching in post, but that's it. So it's one of the things I love to teach, and it really gets people excited about what you can do with creating some kind of experimental looks. Each one of these exposures is kind of a one-of-a-kind endeavor, and there's a lot of trial and error to find one that works, but when they work, man, they're just like crazy cool. So definitely worth checking that out. So that's strobe and constant light together. And LEDs are great for this because they are daylight balanced. You can, of course, do it with a light bulb, but then you may have to gel it or correct for it in post. So the LED is going to give you a daylight source as well as the strobe is a daylight source, and then you're introducing color using any one of the great Roscoe gel packs that are available to you. So that's constant lights. Let's take a look at all of the portraits together just so you can kind of see some of my favorite selects from the shoot. Portraits with LED lights. Get out and check it out. Try that stuff yourself. These are pretty cool tools and worth a look, especially if you're learning about lighting or if you're doing video as well. So that's going to wrap it up for this month. Again, this has been Michael Corsentino for Shutter Magazine, and I will see you next month.